Hello and welcome. This is the news on NTA International. I am Nolin Ebel Ame and my sign language interpreter is Bamidele John. Let's begin with the headlines. Presidency refutes a claim that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu holds issuance of 5-year multiple entry non-immigrant visas for United States citizens. Federal government canvasses transparency and accountability in Nigeria's public service. Deepening global relations, President Trump meets 5 African leaders in White House. Now to the news. The presidency has refuted a claim that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has halted the issuance of 5-year multiple entry non-immigrant visas for United States citizens. The president reiterates commitment in strengthening bilateral ties with the United States and other nations around the world. Extended to Nigerians by the U.S. government. He said the president, upon assuming office, issued a directive mandating all government agencies to adhere strictly to existing bilateral agreements with other nations. This policy underscores Nigeria's dedication to fostering mutual respect and cooperation in international relations. The directive ensures that the 5-year multiple entry visa for U.S. citizens remains in place, aligning with the reciprocity principle that governs Nigeria's diplomatic engagements. Addressing the introduction of Nigeria's e-visa system, the presidency clarified that the 90-day single-entry visa applies only to this new category, designed for tourists and business travelers seeking a streamlined application process. The e-visa, which replaces the outdated and often problematic visa on arrival system, offers a fast online application process with approvals granted within 48 hours. This policy aligns with President Tinubu's broader efforts to enhance investment, trade and tourism while promoting ease of doing business for non-nationals. However, the U.S. has yet to reciprocate by offering a similar e-visa option for Nigerians. In the spirit of decades-long cooperation, the Tinubu administration is committed to ongoing dialogue with the United States to address any discrepancies in visa policy. The presidency reiterated its dedication to resolving these issues amicably, ensuring that the strong partnership between Nigeria and the United States continues to thrive based on mutual understanding and respect. In continuation of its quest to attract investors for the livestock sector, a Nigerian delegation has visited one of the cattle ranches of the world's biggest beef producer, JPS Group, for sightseeing. State House correspondent Musbah Wahab reports that the delegation deployed by President Bola Tinubu said they are inspired and expressed the belief that the project is a possibility in Nigeria with the commitment of the current administration.
Beyond series of conference room discussions, this is another delegation to ascertain seriousness of a potential partnership. From the area view, the delegation, including governors of Ogun, Niger and Benue states, had a sense of what to come. Touching ground on the J&F farm, a subsidiary of JBS Group located on the Araguaia Valley near Brasilia, the reality dawned on the delegation.
Look at this, they be like elephant.
Sitting on 3,000 hectares of land in Aruana, this is not just a farmland, but a colony of cattle, and not just a business, but an economy of its own.
How the cattle is tagged individually
and we control everything through the tag. How many kilos they convert, how many days they are in the yard, about the health and the protocols, the vaccines, everything.
With majority of Nelore and a crossbreed of Angus and Nelore, about 95,000 cattle bred at a different location are brought here for proper feeding for 120 days.
It's 3 rounds because it's 120 days on feed. Go another group of cattle 120 days. Go and another 120. So you turn 3 eyes. So not 94,000 head of cattle times 3 eyes. So it's going to be about almost 300, 260, 250,000 head of cattle.
Under Pivot's irrigation system, crops are grown on the farm to replenish the silages of feed for the cattle.
It's not just the corn. It's
The leaves and everything.
Yeah.
In operation with progression spanning over 20 years, the company now has a record of global biggest exporter of beef.
This cattle here go to one of the largest beef plants that we operate here in Brazil, that is 60 kilometers from here, and we export this meat to everywhere. We export to Europe, we export to China, to South America, to the Middle East, to many different countries.
Is a demonstration of what the Fulani people are doing. They can be put here, food will be brought to them, and they are fattened and sold. And this is a cycle of 120 days. So you have 3 cycles in a year. The ecosystem is huge because you're going to be cropping corn, you're going to be cropping sorghum, you're going to be cropping sugarcane, grasses.
This is inspiring. It is inspiring.
It's a game changer.
This is where we need to be.
And it's going to change the entire ecosystem of our herdsmen. It's going to do away with prices,
Insecurity.
Security because of farmer herder crisis. If you're able to have this ranching and have cattle in a controlled environment, it takes care of so many different things. It brings employment to our youth, as we know, industrialization, food security, because if we're able to produce all this protein, even a foreign exchange earner.
And now, with discussions between the company and the Nigerian government in final stages, the delegation leaves the Araguaia Valley with a renewed hope of the possibility of replicating these achievements in Nigeria. And until then, the cowboys say goodbye. In Aruana, Brazil, Muspal, Nanwahab, NTA News.
And elsewhere, U.S. President Donald Trump is seeking to strengthen economic ties with West Africa as he hosts 5 of its leaders. Framapai reports.
This is the first time President Trump is hosting West African leaders since his re-election for the 2nd time as the President of the United States. His guests are leaders from Liberia, Senegal, Mauritania, Gabon, and Guinea-Bissau. What was brought to the table by the host is economic ties and bilateral trade with West Africa and beyond.
Closed the USAID group to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse, which was tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse. And we're working tirelessly to forge new economic opportunities involving both the United States and many African nations. There's great economic potential in Africa, like few other places in many ways, and the long run, this will be far more effective.
Mauritanian President Mohamed Ould Ghazouani was the first African leader to speak. Senegal President Bassirou Diomaye Faye complimented his golf skills, inviting him to build a golf course in Senegal. The African heads of state also used the platform to talk about their respective natural resources and raw materials, including rare earth minerals. Liberia may also be considering a U.S. proposal to accept people deported by the U.S., including criminals. President Umaru Embalo was clearly proud of the White House invite for Guinea-Bissau, which several years ago was labeled narco state by the U.S. and UN, as it was once a major transit hub for cocaine from Latin America to Europe and North America. The African leaders hope they hold some cards to do a deal with President Trump. Frama Panyi, NTA News.
The federal government has called for immediate and united action to close Nigeria's widening skills gap. describing it as a national priority critical to economic transformation. Vice President Kashim Shettima made the call during the 6th meeting of the National Council on Skills at the Presidential Villa. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
The Council's mandate to develop a strategic workforce capable of meeting Nigeria's evolving economic demands. And this 6th meeting of the Council is to discuss on a proposal for the review of existing skills training centers across several ministries, departments and agencies of government to align their work and functions with the national development goals.
Our previous meetings have laid important groundwork, and I'm confident that today's deliberations will further solidify our progress. Bringing our diverse perspectives and expertise to bear on these important matters. Our collective wisdom and decisive actions are essential for unlocking the full potential of our human capital.
The Vice President described the session as an open forum where positions were aired and important decisions taken.
The federal government will harvest the youths from the subnationals to train to ensure that the quality that we need is given to them, and identification of the specific type of skills that we need in Nigeria, not training a youth and at the end of the day he's not useful.
People as citizens that want these skills, and this is what the president says. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu always says that the children are the youth are the heartbeat of this country, and what we're doing in this council, led by the chairman, vice president, is to really give the high-quality education that impart as citizens looking to get technical vocational skill training, the best and high quality, to make them useful in the country, useful to themselves, and be able to compete globally as well.
I want to assure you that the organized private sector of Nigeria is willing, able, and ready to collaborate with the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to achieve the laudable objectives of His Excellency, Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to achieve, his hope agenda.
A presentation was made on the National Artisan Skills Acquisition Program, an initiative aimed at training 10,000 artisans annually in high-demand construction trades to formalize Nigeria's informal artisan sector by providing certification and onboarding qualified artisans into a digital artisan marketplace. A major highlight of the meeting was the proposal for a national skills infrastructure audit to create a centralized database of all training facilities, verify their functionality, and identify gaps. From the State House, Abdurrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
In the meantime, Vice President Kashim Shettima has called for transparency and accountability in Nigeria's public service, urging former and current public officials to summon the courage to document their life and stewardship while in service. He stated this at the public presentation of OPL 245, the inside story of the $1.3 billion oil block, a memoir written by a former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mohammed Bello Adoke, held at the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Center in Abuja. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila again reports.
OPL 245, inside story of the $1.3 billion Nigerian oil block, authored by Mohammed Bello Adoke, former Attorney General and Minister of Justice during President Goodluck Jonathan, has a subject of discourse over allegations of corruption, but this book gives further clarifications.
It focuses on the OPL 245 in an extensive and comprehensive account of the allegations about his role, the burden that he has had to endure in terms of what he calls clinical persecution, or the lies and more lies, I'm quoting him, that were told against him and his eventual vindication.
Let me use this opportunity to urge all of us to be conscious of the fact that power belongs to God. The best anyone who is blessed with the opportunity of a public office should do is to commit to that assignment and use the opportunity to uphold truth, justice, and fairness.
But this book and the broader discourse it contributes to is not just about the oil block. It is about how Nigeria governs its resources, how decisions made in government echo through generations, and how public officials must balance legal clarity with national interest even when under pressure.
The 271-page book with 5 parts and 26 chapters calling on events in the oil block story that led the author to go on exile, and today, after all the hurdles, his last word is forgiveness.
Permit me to say, Your Excellency, that I've forgiven all those who have hands in my ordeal. With the public presentation of this book, sir, I say boldly and clearly that I admire the courage of Ibrahim Mustafa Magum in coming forward to make up with me, to apologize to me, and to empathize with me for the role each and every one of them played.
There is no final adjournment in the pursuit of justice. There is no permanent discharge in the reckoning of history. We have always been summoned, not by a judge, but by conscience and by posterity. This book, therefore, is an access card to the next phase of hearings in the court of public opinion. The pages of this work will inspire debates. They will provoke rebuttals. They will ignite fresh investigations. These conversations will take place in drawing rooms, in lecture halls, and in the columns of tomorrow's newspapers.
Other speakers at the event acknowledged the bold steps taken by the author to give his own account in this compelling book on one of Nigeria's most contentious oil deals. In Abuja, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
If you just joined us, this is the news on NTA International. Let's pause here for our first break. Thank you for staying with us on the news on NTA International. At a time when screens compete fiercely with pages, a group of passionate advocates is on a mission to bring back the magic of books. The management of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, played host to members of the network of book clubs and reading culture promoters, NBRP, who came knocking with a bold proposition: let's make Nigeria read again.
The delegates came bearing books, ideas, and a vision. A vision of a Nigeria where reading is not just a pastime, but a national culture. For the NBRP, it's about awakening minds, shaping narratives, and reclaiming a generation slowly losing touch with the written word. And what better partner to amplify the cause than the NTA?
Our major objective to have book clubs in the 774 local governments area in the country, and equally libraries in all the area councils. That is to carry book reading to the grassroots. We are just facilitators, and because of that, we have to seek for collaboration and partnership.
What would we be in another 20 years if it continues like this, where people are not reading? What kind of young people, what kind of educated Nigerians would we have if people are not reading? So it's a challenge that I believe we all need to take on in one way or the other. By all means, whatever ways that we can support your work, we're here for you.
In return, they offered tools, advocacy materials, and reading campaigns to help spark a movement that could change how Nigerians see books, one story at a time. Because when you get a nation to read, you give it the power to rise.
In other news, the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is media-friendly and will continue to be so if journalists remain steadfast in adhering to professional conduct. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, reassured when he received the National Executive of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Salihu Abdullahi Gonara reports.
Like the slogan of the government, Renewed Hope, the editors have acknowledged the renewed management of government information under the watch of Muhammad Idris, devoid of controversies. Nigeria Guild of Editors, in solidarity with the strategy that is stabilizing the nation's media ecosystem, have presented proposals on media laws reform as a commitment for collaboration.
A couple of laws which are overlapping, both in the penal code and the criminal code, and we felt that instead of having duplication of some of these laws, they should be harmonized. We have recommended repeal of some of them.
Be assured of our support and partnership always to ensure that all that is required of us to make the media robust and to also continuously to be objective in our jobs.
The minister assured that, like the reforms of the administration being implemented towards a more prosperous Nigeria, the media will not be an exception.
It's important that all of us come together, government and the media, so that we can have the kind of society that all of us so desire to have. You can't, in your attempt to criticize government, also try to bring down the roof of the house. We are all Nigerians. We must have a country before we even have the Nigerian media. This patriotism, reporting with that sense of patriotism is critical even for your job. It is the best editor, someone said, is the one that knows what not to say.
He promised to engage with relevant stakeholders and harmonize ideas to give the proposals on media laws reform the required attention. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi Gonara, NTA News.
In a related development, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Muhammad Idris, is engaging information commissioners who are members of the All Progressives Congress to strengthen their communication capabilities as ambassadors of renewed hope policies in the states. The Conference for Commissioners of Information, put together by the Progressive Governors Forum holding in Minna, Niger State, is the platform for the engagement. Salihu Abdullahi Gonara again has the report.
The federal and state governments might have different policies and programs. The bond here is for the country's #1 spokesman to compare notes with those with similar responsibilities at the subnational government, equip them with more facts and figures about the successes of the Renewed Hope 8-point agenda that is on a steady move into the second half of its first-term mandate.
Let me say that as at this morning, over 600,000 applications have been received by NELFON, the Nigerian Education Loan Fund. Over 300,000 of them, over 360,000 of them, as of today, are benefiting from this novel initiative of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Government has committed over 70 billion naira to this project. What it means is that all these people, over 300,000 of them, who are benefiting from this program, are not just going back to school, they are also returning school because their tuition fee is being paid by this administration, and they are also giving them money as pocket money, as for them to continue to be in school. This is unprecedented and the first time that this has ever happened in our country.
He acknowledged that some of the early policy decisions by President Bola Tinubu are responsible for the actualization of the all-round development in Nigeria.
You are in the forefront as information managers and those who have the responsibility of interfacing with the people at the grassroots. You must go back home with renewed energy, armed with facts, stories, and strategies to effectively mobilize your people to take full advantage of the promise of the renewed hope.
Representatives of the state governments have pledged to be dependable ambassadors of the renewed hope to sustain positive transformation.
In our present context, governance is not only measured by policies enacted or infrastructures built, but by how effectively those actions are conveyed to the people we serve.
A key highlight of our engagement is the proposed federal government PGF media policy and strategy synergy, a groundbreaking framework designed to institutionalize media alignment between the Federal Ministry of Information and the 23 APC-governed states.
The theme of this meeting, strategic communication and policy alignment, is timely and critical as we navigate an era that demands clarity of purpose.
The commissioners for information are expected to return to their states with more knowledge about government policies that will boost their communication prowess. In Mina, the Niger state capital, Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
On judiciary, the body of benches has concluded the July 2025 call to bar ceremony in Abuja with the admission of last batch of the 5,734 new wigs into the Nigerian bar. Chukwunonso Nwabueze reports that former Chief Justice of Nigeria and Chairman, Body of Benches, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, charged the new set of legal practitioners to uphold the ethics and values of the profession in the discharge of their duties.
Now recognized as legal practitioners empowered by law to operate within Nigeria's judicial system, this symbolic event marks a pivotal moment in the pursuit of their careers. Former Chief Justice of Nigeria and Chairman Body of Benches, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, charged the newly called legal practitioners to serve the nation and humanity in justice without fear or favor, affection or ill will.
Your call to the bar today is not just a crown to your efforts, but a noble call to service. Along with the prestige of being a lawyer, come many responsibilities. Chief among these responsibilities is the duty to serve the public ethically and diligently.
I wish to assure all of you that we shall remain the gatekeepers of our noble profession as teachers and administrators.
And that's the much we can take on that story, and that concludes the news on international. Thank you so much for watching. I am Nolene Ebel Ame, and my sign language interpreter has been Bamidele John. Bye for now.